You're listening to a Bored to Death Herocast, talking superhero anime and other hero fare in easily digestible chunks. Hello again, ladies and gentlemen, and other assorted gender assignations. Welcome to the Bored to Death Bingecast Herocast. I am Jay, being joined by
Sam.
And we have just gotten back from seeing My Hero Academia, the movie World Heroes Mission, the third movie for My Hero Academia.
And this is your first one seeing it?
First time seeing it in the theater. Yeah.
This is my third one in theaters.
Yep. If you have been diligently listening to our hero casts for My Hero Academia, first of all, thank you very much. I know a lot of you probably haven't, but that's okay. Those of you who have, thank you.
Those who are new, cool. I hope you stick around and please watch or listen to the other ones.
Please listen to the other ones, whether you're doing that on YouTube or on CKCC Radio, on Podbean. Either way, thank you very much and welcome back. If you haven't listened to any of them, go ahead and do so, because there's going to be spoilers abound for this. So this is your warning right now that there's really nothing we can. We're going to be spoiling stuff from this movie and from previous seasons and whatnot of My Hero Academia. So yeah, you've been warned. But,
so spoilers out of the way.
Yeah. And they just basically went straight into the action.
Oh, yeah. Did you remember when I said, I think this is what's going to lead into the movie, and I pointed it out during...
Oh, yeah. I recognize now the church or temple or whatever.
And the guy.
Flecked turn from the Humorize terrorist organization / doomsday cult / ideological organization. But they're terrorists, is what they are, basically. They
literally wanted genocide.
Yep.
For the most part.
Pretty much. Basically, like any of the anti-mutant organizations from, like, X-Men, or any of the anti-metahuman organizations from, like, DC Comics.
The X-Men ones, because they don't usually have their own... any mutants in their ranks, except for the controlled ones, like Lady Deathstrike and whoever was controlled, going by the movie.
Basically everything in Genosha before the government there got overthrown and replaced.
Yeah.
They're even more insane than, like, your anti-mutant groups in the Marvel comics. Because in the Marvel comics, the mutants are a minority.
Yeah.
Quirk,
this is a majority.
In the My Hero Academia universe, 80% of the world has quirks.
They wanted to eradicate close to 80% of the populace.
Yeah.
With the exception of the handful they have in their ranks.
And even then, they basically became kind of clear, at least with those twins that Bakugo fought, they were really only there to save their own skin. They weren't true believers.
That's jumping way ahead.
Yes, but...
speaking of true believers, did you like the name of the bar?
Stanley K?
Stanley.
I mean, it was just Stanley K. I mean, Stanley by itself is not... I wouldn't... It's a bit of a stretch. I can see where you're going with it, but I think that's a little bit... I think that's a little bit of a stretch. I know that the mangaka for My Hero is a huge Marvel Comics fan. But that you're reaching a little bit.
Am
I? He says as he starts looking it up. Well, he looks up. You're looking up Stan Lee.
Yeah, I was just checking to see what his middle name was.
Yeah, but at any rate, when the movie opens, we see Humorize doing one of their church meetings, essentially, as the leader, a quirked guy.
Well, we didn't know this at the time.
The guy had blue skin.
I mean, and Deku beat the blue out of him. Did you notice?
That
when he fell, he was no longer blue.
I'm wondering if Deku... Well, he may have beaten the quirk
beat the
down.
Blue out of him.
Beat the blue out of his ass. Sorry. But... Anyway, Flecked Turn, the leader of Humorize, is giving one of his little sermons. The group believes in the Quirk doomsday theory, that Quirk's
They've also mentioned a couple times,
which has been mentioned numerous times in the series. Although they usually refer to it as like the Quirk singularity theory, but it's essentially the same thing, that the Quirks are just going to continue to breed together, get stronger to the point where people are not going to be able to control their quirks anymore.
Which they mentioned a couple times during the makeup exam for Bakugo and Todoroki.
Yep.
With the kindergartners.
Yes, because they were an example of people of kids who had quirks from a very young age, and their quirks were pretty powerful as well. And this was them when they were still young and didn't really have proper training with a lot of it.
Which is the problem. They should have, like, it's showing that hero courses, as we know it, are high school and above.
Right.
So, without proper training, these elementary schoolers were terrorizing their poor teacher.
Yep. And anyway, the Humorize then, as a show of force, sets off a chemical attack on a city somewhere. I don't know if they ever specified where exactly, but this like gas fills the air, and basically it sends everybody's quirks into overdrive, and basically causing their quirks to kill them.
Yeah, to take completely over,
including people whose quirks weren't even manifested. That one guy went from completely normal looking to suddenly turning into a mutant turtle, and then just into a turtle. And there were people weird. Self-immolating as like flame powers went haywire.
He just immediately engulfed himself in fire and died.
Yeah. And
the woman with the tornado.
The woman with the tornado, which was just sending... There were people caught up in that thing, and she had no control over it whatsoever. It killed... We don't know how many people, but...
I'm pretty sure everyone... They found one guy alive in the middle of it.
And they were like, congratulations, you were one of the chosen. And just the way they sort of focused on that poor guy and the PTSD that he was going through from that made it almost seem like he was about to have a late activating quirk or something. It almost looked like his head was about to explode.
Probably from seeing everybody just die around him.
Yeah.
Including his family. I think he was holding a child or something.
And from there, the World Heroes Association... this was, I think, the first time that the WHA was ever actually mentioned in anything My Hero Academia related, because everything was so focused on Japan. There was the
the world one.
Yeah, there was like some sort of hero association, like national one in Japan.
Yeah, there was a Japan branch. That's the one Hawks is working with.
Mm-hmm. Although the ones in Japan were mostly focused on dealing with the threat of the League of Villains and the Meta Liberation Army, which are now one and the same. Spoiler for Season 5. But from there, we saw all the bunch of the pro heroes from Japan joining forces with pro heroes across the world in Paris, in America, there was some in Australia. They were just like all over the place, including some country they never really specified where exactly it was apart from Europe, called Otheon, which was the main setting for the movie.
I was hoping we could see more heroes from other countries.
Yeah, the only one that we saw was Salam, the two-dimensional Egyptian guy.
We saw him.
Egypt. That was another one. Yeah,
we saw him, but there was also another guy, the Manticore.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, they got very little focus. Salam was like the only one who got any focus whatsoever. And his main thing is that he's two-dimensional, which makes him very fast.
Because he can pretty much weave through the current.
Yeah. I guess he has some control over it, because I don't know about you, but if I were to throw a piece of paper into traffic, that paper's getting sucked along where traffic's going. It's not going off in its own direction.
I mean, because he has full control over it.
Yeah, that's true. But like the various hero agencies are going there along with all the UA work study students. But Endeavor's group goes to Otheon, and we see them basically launch an attack on a Humorize facility in Otheon. And we got to see the Three Musketeers, Deku, Bakugo, and Shoto.
We only got to see them in the cover art outfits once.
For that one scene, I know. I was just like, after that, I was like, Really? I mean, I can understand why Deku wouldn't have it by the big climactic fight at the end, but Shoto and Bakugo had had a chance to grab their bags or whatever with their hero gear in it. Come on,
right?
But regardless, we got to see them cutting loose, and just some fantastically animated action sequences.
Those animated fight sequences.
The fight sequences in this movie were like
so much in different art styles.
Mm-hmm. And as we've seen in every My Hero movie so far.
One of them reminded me very much of the Trigger anime style with the big squares and blocks. When stuff's like breaking up and it has that real distinct look to it. It's, if you've ever
especially during the big fight with Flecht.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot.
Yeah, now that you're talking about it, it was very Trigger-like.
That part I showed you of Promare. It just made me think of Promare when...
I don't know that you actually showed me anything from
I thought
Promare.
I showed you one of the
You've mentioned it, but I don't know.
I think I showed Zeke some, and he was like, I'm like, man, no. This is something... We need to watch that. We need to watch that and binge it. Probably sometime this weekend, if possible.
If possible. There's a lot going on this weekend for us. And, talking of Trigger, we still need to get you and I think Chris down so we can get you guys' reactions to Star Wars Visions. Because Trigger did a couple of episodes.
Yeah, I haven't finished it.
Okay.
I forgot all about it, and I have a whole bunch of other stuff going down.
Well, like I said, we can get Chris down. I know Chris has watched, I think, all of it. So we just need to get you to finish watching, and then we can... Anyway, but back to My Hero. And we're being joined shortly by the Peanut Gallery, although she'll probably just have a seat and just listen.
My cat almost fell down the stairs.
Well, the Bingecast's pretty resilient. He'll be fine. At any rate, so and after this action sequence, because they were mainly going there to try to find the bombs, these trigger bombs, as they were being called, because they contained that Quirk enhancing drug. Remember that?
Yep.
Which had been mentioned in the episode where the work study stuff was going on, and we saw them dealing with the smugglers that were smuggling Trigger out of the country with Captain Selkie.
Yeah. So that was the same episode where he said, where they told him the shipment's not going to arrive. It's like, we have plenty.
Yeah. But when the heroes manage to take down all of these facilities all over the world, the bombs are nowhere to be found. So the teams have to basically stand down. They're basically on standby in hotel suites in various places. And then we meet our secondary protagonist for the series, Rhodey. Because every one of these movies has had somebody as like the secondary sort of.
We never really followed
they're like a sort of an immigrant to the series. They're not in the main series itself.
But I mean
they only get any focus in the movies.
Didn't really focus on the girl though, but she was there.
Yeah, she was there,
but not as focused as we followed along with.
It was like Dr. David or whatever his name was, Shield or whatever, Daniel Shield or
I think so.
Something like that.
His daughter.
Yeah, and his daughter were the sort of two.
But we really didn't follow either one of them.
This is true.
She just kind of was
this
there
is true.
sometimes.
The second movie though had the kid who was the living MacGuffin because he had he had a particular quirk that would have worked with Nine's.
Yeah, he had the spoiler for the second movie.
Sort of like quirk supercharge.
No, that wasn't it. It was just to heal himself. It would work with his blood.
He needed
because
his
dad
blood,
had it.
He needed a blood transfusion
for A blood or B blood, and his son
might
had
have been
AB
blood or something like that.
His son had the reverse one.
Oh, okay. But in this one we have Rhodey, who is this guy living in a trailer park in Otheon, doing whatever jobs he can get, and he's not shy about doing criminal stuff. And
he's like, whatever gets me paid, pretty much.
So that he can take care of his two younger siblings, because that's always the case. The parents aren't around, sort of thing.
Who made this, Disney?
Yeah, Disney does love their dead parents. But he agrees to take a job from this barkeep, basically just transporting some stolen goods.
I think he had to deliver it to somebody specific.
Yes, that's what it was. And while this is going on, we see the Three Musketeers basically out running errands, picking up some groceries to take back to the hotel. When there's an explosion at a jewelry store, we see these two villains come running out. Both of them had quirks. He was able to like turn himself into a tornado for like super speed, and the other guy had like explosive hair.
Was he using his hair?
It looked like he was tearing out like tufts of his hair.
I thought it was
after Bakugo beat him, his hair went from like pink to just brown.
Because he scorched the shit out of it.
Yeah, oh, that's true. I hadn't considered that aspect of it, but and so the Three Musketeers mobilized to try to cut them off, and Shoto, Bakugo managed to take down the dude with the explosive afro, and even when the guy like threw a bunch of hair at him and sort of detonated them which mostly just threw up a smoke screen, he's just like, yeah, it takes care of you. And Bakugo's like, you call that a blast? Just kaboom.
Of course Bakugo would be like that.
Yeah. As soon as I saw that guy had like an explosive power, I was like, oh, Bakugo's gonna have some fun with him.
You like his catchphrase for the movie?
Which
Stop giving me orders!
Yeah. Well, that's just his catchphrase in general when it comes to him and Shoto. Because it's always Shoto, have you noticed? It's almost always... Deku has said some stuff too, but it's Shoto, because Shoto's like the strategist of the three. I mean, Deku does some strategizing himself, but Shoto is the main like strategist of the three. And... but Shoto catches the tornado guy by basically distracting him with some fire and then putting an ice wall in front of him so he just runs headlong into
this is after he already pretty much passed off the jewels.
This is true. He had gotten out of sight quickly enough for him to literally toss the case of jewelry off to Rhodey, who cuts down an alleyway. And by the time Deku gets there, Shoto's like, he doesn't have the case. It must be around here somewhere. And then we have a chase scene as Rhodey... At the time, we thought was quirkless. It turns out he does have a quirk, but it's not really one that's super useful for this sort of thing.
Well, it's not something that we'd need to mention yet.
Exactly. But we're just seeing this badass normal using parkour.
He was
smooth,
all over the place.
And he was managing to stay ahead of Deku, who was using his shoot style speed to just like and Black Whip to Spider-Man his way all over the damn place.
Yeah, he got a lot more control of Black Whip since he trained with good old Endeavor.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was partly the training with Endeavor and partly just getting a grip on how it works.
He's just straight using it like he's had use of it the whole time.
This is true. But while this is all going on,
honestly, I wanted to see a third Power Manifestor in the movie, but I didn't.
I doubt they would have done that in the movie.
I gotta say, he has some frickin' healing.
Oh, definitely. There's definitely some healing going on.
Because with what happened in the final fight...
I mean, there's only so much heroic willpower is going to get you standing up when your body's been taken to pieces like that. Not literally, but practically. But while this chase sequence is going on, there's another chase going on as this guy that we had seen running from Humorize earlier.
After he witnessed the first bomb.
The first bomb getting activated. And we saw him running out of the facility with a briefcase of some kind.
And we also noticed he had an eye patch.
Yes. Eye patch was mostly just there to help us identify him. There was nothing significant about the eye patch as far as we could tell.
I don't think he even had a problem with his eye because it got shot off by one of the arrows.
Yeah, but we never really had a chance to tell anything because the car got basically totaled almost immediately after. Because, well, like I said, with the chase sequence was going on, we then cut to Eye Patch Man in a car, basically racing to try to get to the authorities with the briefcase that he has, when he's intercepted on the highway by a Humorize Quirked villain. They mentioned her name, but we're just going to call her Archer because that's, she had like a 2-part quirk. She could turn her hand into a bow.
Well, she I think she manifested the string. Could she turn it?
I saw her like thumb and pinky extending into the bow. I think the string was part of that, but the other part of her quirk was that anything that she fired with the string of her bow, she could control the trajectory of,
which is ridiculously overpowered.
Yes, it reminded me of Rip Van Winkle from Helsing. She could do the same thing with the bullets from her rifle. And it was also ridiculously overpowered. She fired once and killed every single person.
I wanted to mention something, but I remember we haven't watched Demon Slayer yet.
Yeah, don't mention it, because that is going to be something we'll be tackling in a future Bingecast series. But she, using her arrows, just takes his vehicle apart, and it crashes, destroys part of the bridge that they were going over, sending debris raining down, and it almost lands on poor Rhodey. And when he
got out of the way of all the debris without a quirk,
dude has some skills, but in the process of dodging all the raining debris, he lost track of the case. And when the smoke finally clears, he sees the case, grabs it, and starts running again. Deku manages to catch up to him in the subway, and they have a brief argument and then a scuffle over the case.
It's like, hey, you're not from around here.
Yeah, you're not from this country. Do you even have authority here?
Just show me what's in your case.
Yeah, well, Deku, I think the problem that Deku had was that put him on the back foot, and he wasn't thinking clearly enough to point out, I'm here with Endeavor's agency, who have been brought in by the World Heroes Association. So yes, I have authority.
It's
a
particular
job, but yes, that's and Endeavor does actually get on Shoto and Bakugo's case about it later.
Yeah,
that you're not, you leave that to the local authorities, kind of thing. But in the scuffle that Deku and Rhodey have, the case ends up falling open, and it's just a briefcase. With just documents and stuff notepads and pens and stuff, and
a very unremarkable
which makes Deku suddenly be all like, I am so sorry, because Rhodey had spun some excuse about how he was just a businessman, he's a delivery person kind of thing, I'm good at negotiating, yada yada yada. And as Deku's apologizing, Rhodey's just sort of like, yeah, and then Rhodey suddenly realizes, shit, I don't have the jewelry I'm supposed to deliver.
Cut to the archer actually having the
picking the lock on the case and finding just jewelry.
It wasn't jewelry; it was just straight gems.
Yeah, that's true. And
she just chucks that shit.
Yeah, she just basically chucks it and has to report back to Humorize HQ that I lost track of the case. Don't worry, I'll find it. And then, as Rhodey starts running off again, Deku by this point has noticed that Rhodey seems way more nervous than he should be if everything was okay. And he sort of stops him in the plaza just outside of the subway when suddenly a bunch of cops just
12 cop cars
all show up, and I'm sorry, I thought we were in Otheon, not America, because those cops immediately opened fire with lethal force.
No, they pulled out their guns and said, we have authorization to use lethal force.
And then,
screw it, let's shoot them.
Yeah, I was just like, whoa, that seems
wait a minute, that's a lot of guns for an anime in America. We're not allowed to show guns in America on anime. Right, Yu-Gi-Oh?
You're thinking, well, I mean, are you thinking 4Kids Yu-Gi-Oh? Because 4Kids is yeah. Well, there you go, right there.
Yu-Gi-Oh and One Piece.
Well, One Piece also couldn't show smokers cigarettes, so they were lollipops, and he just naturally emits all this smoke.
I just thought that was kind of clever that they changed it to a lollipop.
Yeah.
I still like that. And then they changed the
Whitebeard Pirates logo, yeah.
No, they changed the name of the naval system. They called them something.
Marines. Well, I mean, that's partly no. In the manga, they're called the Navy. Their jackets still say Marine though.
Weird.
Well, given that they operate in a marine environment.
Well, we're going way off base.
Getting back to My Hero. But at any rate, they start opening fire, and Deku is just like, I'm going to get you out of here.
It's like, yeah, this is nope.
Because even Deku's just sort of like, they open fire
With
way too quickly for no reason. And the cops are just basically chasing them. They managed to get onto the top of a train.
And mind you, they were chasing him recklessly.
Yeah.
Like, they were running into, going down
smashing
alleys.
Market stalls and stuff out of the way, and barely slowing down for any of the civilians in the way.
When they ran into a guardrail chasing them, too, and one...
Yeah, we saw a pileup, and one of them was about to get sent over the edge. But they're on
Deku didn't try to stop that.
Nope. So they get on this train, which is going on a bridge over the lagoon or the ocean, whatever, like the bay there in Otheon, and they're still trying to figure out what's going on when suddenly Archer shows up in a helicopter.
No, this wasn't the helicopter.
Oh, that's right.
She was on the freaking embankment.
Yeah, like a good chunk of distance away, and she's just like a freaking sniper, just. And that's when you really gotta.
She had to have some support gear for that shit. There's no way she has the ability, all those abilities plus that range.
The trajectory control, I think, is definitely part of her quirk.
Well, I know, but once like she shoots it, she can't have that kind of amazing accuracy at that distance.
I don't know.
Without being able to see.
We didn't see anything that could have been a support equipment that gave her that level of sight line. But regardless, that's when you could see that it was actually like trajectory control. Previously, it could seem like she could just supercharge her arrows, given the way that it took Eye Patch Man's car apart.
Jesus.
But here it's just like Deku got Rhodey out of the way, and the arrow just loops back around and tries to skewer them again, embeds itself in the roof of the train, and then it's just like starts wiggling to try to get loose.
And then he realized, yeah, I'm putting too many people in danger with this. Let's go.
And the cops were still chasing them on the bridge below, so Deku just takes them down into the water, and somehow his cell phone is still working when he gets to shore.
That was good phone.
He calls up Shoto to basically tell them what's been going on, and then
oh my god, that was just a jaw dropper.
What
the reveal,
the news report?
Yeah,
because then as they're trying to basically tell him, you know, to stand by, we'll send somebody out, and then Endeavor or Bakugo, it was one of Endeavor's.
I think it was the fire girl.
Points out a news report where basically the local authorities have branded Deku a mass murderer with 12 deaths credited to him.
And I'm like,
everybody,
damn, Deku.
And here's the thing: everybody in the room, and as this news report goes out across the world,
worldwide,
every single one of his classmates is just sort of like, "That's bullshit." Every single one. Nobody bought it for a second.
They grew up. Well, grew up. It's like it's only been 1 year.
It's like they've seen how Deku operates. They know there's no way that's real.
Well, he did don that black outfit at the beginning of the movie.
Well, that's, I think, just sort of tactical gear.
Yeah, I know.
But
villain
Deku.
And
so Shoto's just sort of like, Deku, we have a problem. It basically tells him you can't come in. They're going to track you by GPS. So after you turn off your phone, take the battery out, so that they can't track your phone that way. And Rhodey is just sort of like, why don't we just turn the case over to the authorities? And it's just sort of like, no.
The back and forth they had with that was really good,
because it was Rhodey was basically pointing out every single logical thing in the heat of the moment that you would think. It's just like, why don't we just get rid of it? Well, then they're going to kill us anyway.
If they got what they want, they don't need us alive.
If we give it to them, then they'll kill us because they don't know if we've looked at what's inside the case or not. They can't risk us telling anybody.
Uh-huh.
We can't risk destroying it because then they have no reason to keep us alive. It's just sort of like Deku shoots down every single one of his arguments. Not in a mean way. It's just like, no, that's not going to work, and here's why. So they basically decide they just need to run. and they decide to run for the border for the next country over, and they like hitch a ride on the top of a bus. And and Rhodey's just sort of
Rhodey was the one like encouraging him to do it. He's like, "Well, we can't go inside the bus because
there's too great a risk somebody will recognize you." And even then, Deku like leans through an open window and just like uses his quirk to flick 2 coins into the coin.
Now we've bought 2 seats.
Yeah, so it's just sort of like. Even though we're sitting on the top of the top of the
he's like,
bus,
we're not going inside anyway, even if you bought 2 seats.
He's like, I know.
Yep.
And
it's for his own conscience.
Yeah, exactly. It's just sort of like this way. Even though we're kind of hitching a ride, we've paid for the seats, so the bus is not, or the bus company's not losing out on the fare, kind of thing. But they end up bunking in a abandoned barn somewhere, and Rhodey basically loses faith. We get a real sense he doesn't really believe in any of the hero stuff.
We also hear a little bit of his backstory then, about why he was living in the trailer with his siblings.
that his father was an engineer
and abandoned them
and joined Humorize.
So they got ostracized because of their involvement.
Because Humorize was already seen as a terrorist organization by that point. This was before they even set off the chemical attack.
Yeah.
At that point, they were more of a hate group. But they were a pretty nasty hate group. So it's just sort of like all of their friends stopped associating with them. They lost their house. They lost everything and had to move into the trailer.
I don't know how he was able to afford the trailer.
I gather that he took a debt with Stanley, the barkeep.
That's probably why he keeps paying him little by little to take extra jobs to.
And why he keeps going to Stanley for you got any work for me, kind of thing. And it sounds like Vex, our pet robot, suddenly woke up for the first time in months. So if you hear any little beeping and stuff going on in the background, that's why.
How unfortunate.
Yeah. But as Rhodey explains, given where they lived, they were still getting beat up by, just gangs and stuff for no reason. Possibly because of who their father was.
Most likely.
But it's like the heroes, he basically looked at heroes as people who were just using the hero job as an excuse to get paid for arresting people or beating people up, and they're not going to come down to our neighborhood because there's not much money there. I mean, you can sort of see where he's going with that. I don't know what any local heroes in Otheon are like. We can only really compare everything to the way the heroes society works in Japan. And Salam, I guess, in Egypt. Because again, he's the only other pro hero that we get any sort of characterization from. But while they're sleeping, Rhodey wakes up and decides he's going to call up Humorize, call up the authorities to turn over the case. And so he goes off to. And another thing we should note: Rhodey has this little pet, like bird, that sort of follows him around. Very expressive, little cutesy animal. And as Rhodey's leaving, what was his name? Pino or something like that?
I think so.
Pino is just like squawking and chirping at him, like flapping, trying to block him from going. But he goes off, places a phone call, and this helicopter shows up. A guy steps out of it. Rhodey hands over the case, and then suddenly the guy turns out, nope, he's a Humorize operative with a quirk. Basically turns into a giant Oni, complete with like the iron clubs for fists.
Yeah, he was ridiculous.
Getting ready to attack him when Deku, who'd gotten woken up by Pino, shows up, takes down the Oni with like one or two hits. But then the archer shows up.
Shoots him straight in the chest.
Well, no, she was aiming for
Rhodey,
yeah,
that's right.
And Deku jumped in the way and took an arrow to the chest.
He, Mr. President.
Get down, Mr. President! And it didn't go nearly as deep as it looked because it hit Deku's phone.
That still caused him to bleed a bit.
Yep, but Deku, we should note, did manage to pass along a message to Shoto, which was in code. Again, using like the first character of each line, it was like trying to tell him where they were going, that they were heading for the next country over, and Shoto's just sort of doesn't understand it at first, but then he's like, wait, it's in code, and he realizes, but he's just like, you need better code.
I mean,
and I'm
it
just
worked out.
Yeah, it's but Deku and then again uses his like shoot style to like
Get them out of there.
Yeah, not only get them out of there, but wreck the humorized helicopter and the Oni guy. Archer was the only one left standing.
Didn't he launch the Oni guy into the helicopter?
Yes, he did at one point. Bingecast's getting a little bit playful over here. But, and so then they start running again. They take shelter in a cave where Rhodey uses a first aid kit to patch up Deku, and Deku basically reveals exactly just how much of a true hero he is. That's just like, I've always wanted to help people. That's why I do this, so I can help people. Doesn't
with a smile on my face, so other people can continue to smile.
Mm-hmm. And it's just like, and also when Rhodey points out that he's a criminal. Because he'd just been involved in this in the jewelry store thing.
He was even telling him what he was doing.
Mm-hmm. And Deku's just sort of like, doesn't matter. I'm still going to help people where I can. It doesn't matter who they are or what they've done. It's like, yeah, even a villain, if he can talk them down, he'll do it. But if he can't talk them down, then he'll take them down. But he still prefers not to go in with force.
He did that with the magician.
Yeah, gentle.
Gentle criminal.
Yep, and. At that point, you can see Rhodey's just sort of like, I don't really get you, man. But he's just sort of like, at the same time, he's just sort of like, huh, there are actually decent heroes out there.
But he had to do that for the kid at the summer camp, too.
Yeah, that's true.
Even though he kicked him straight in the jimmy.
Yeah, well...
I saved your life, punched me in the dick.
Yeah. That's just how that kid says hello.
No, he...
Well, but by this point, Shoto, with having gotten this message, knows that he can't mobilize Endeavor's whole group to go try to help him because they have to stay on standby in case Humorize makes another move with the bombs. And so he just grabs Bakugo, and
he just drug him straight out of there. He's like, "The f*** are you doing?" And
basically explained to him. Both as they were moving and then on the train later, what's going on with Deku, and that's like, he needs help.
He's like, we can't talk here, police. Like,
there are too many police in the area, and they were aware by this point that because of how quickly Deku had been branded a mass murderer, that they realized the cops are in on this in some way.
At least someone high up in the cops.
Someone high up in the local police department is in on this. We can't be sure how much of the police force is compromised.
Even Endeavor goes to the police commissioner or chief or whatever he was,
asking for information about why. How could I was like?
I want to know evidence.
I want to see the evidence. And
it's under review.
No, it's like it is currently an open investigation. I can't share this with you because this is not what you're here for.
And and you're his
boss,
his mentor.
No, he said boss.
Oh, he said boss.
He said boss. So basically implying, how do I know you're not the one who told him to do this sort of thing? And Endeavor, you could tell he wanted to just unload on this guy, but it was just sort of like, if I do that, I'm basically just proving him right. So he leaves, and that's when we got confirmation that the police chief, at the very least, was a Humorized supporter.
Oh, because he opened up a drawer and showed the book.
And there was the Quirk Doomsday Theory book in there. And he even repeated their catchphrase for the salvation of humanity. Or for humanity's salvation. And so, but Deku and Rhodey, Rhodey acquires a rusted out, like, hulk of a truck.
I like how it was a Volkswagen pickup truck without it actually saying Volkswagen pickup truck.
Yeah. Well, if you notice, the logo was the Bones logo, like one of the studios.
Was it really?
Yeah. It was like, it looked like a sort of like a stylized K inside a circle, like a K without the little like vertical like bar for it. Very much kind of like a Mercury logo, sort of turned sideways a bit. But at any rate, he left a note behind saying, you know, like an IOU, and telling the owners to take it up with the World Heroes Association. But then we got like an abbreviated like road trip montage of the two of them just driving around, staying on like the side roads and back roads mostly, as they made their way to the border. Before as they reach the border, the truck's out of gas, so it's not going anywhere, and the border is heavily guarded. And so Rhodey's just like, here, you take the case. You shouldn't be carrying me around with that injury that you've got, because as Rhodey points out, they're looking for Deku.
Yeah,
he has passed so far under the radar.
No, they never posted his picture once.
Exactly.
Though they were willing to open fire on him.
Yeah, but I think that's just because he had the case that they were looking for.
Ah, that's right.
And that's the main reason the Archer targeted him, is because she saw case and was like, fire. But before they can properly split up, Archer shows up again in a helicopter with another quirked goon. This guy could make steel balls massive.
No, that reminded me of
it was either that or he could shrink massive balls down to a manageable size. But you were saying something?
Remember the one person with the quirk that could expand things, make them smaller, make them bigger, but it still holds the same mass. From class, was it 1B?
Yeah, I think it was 1B.
I was like,
it was either that or it was one of the other school's students from like the licensing exam.
Oh, it was, yeah, you're right. It was the licensing exam. It was a lot further back. Because I remembered that when it was happening, when we were watching it, I was like, that's a pretty freaking familiar quirk.
Well, I mean, we have seen that there are some quirks that are very similar.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you've got to have something.
Like with the flaming hair chick from Endeavor's agency. She has a fire quirk as well.
But there's a lot of
fire quirks out there. But so then, Deku's just scrambling around trying to protect Rhodey from these guys. The Archer runs out of arrows because she's just firing so many trying to take down Deku. I thought
that was at the time Bakugo was actually chasing her down and shooting shots.
That's right, because Rhodey, in diving for the case, catches it, but he goes over the side, and because the steel ball guy had been on the helicopter and passed her some of his steel balls when she ran out of arrows. And then he then jumped down and was getting ready to smash Rhodey with one of them.
So he either has a strength enhancement quirk, or
I think there's probably some strength enhancement in there along with everything else that he's got. But he's ready to smash Rhodey, and the stone that he was holding onto finally falls away. He starts dropping, and then suddenly ice comes swooping down, makes like a ramp for him to slide down and up and back up on top of the ridge as Bakugo comes out of nowhere and starts taking on the Archer.
Oh, yeah, that was before.
He was opening fire on the helicopter. Something just fell back there.
That was weird.
I think Ash, the ghost, is getting active again.
Ain't got no ghost.
Road has seen Ash. I'll explain that later. But
so we kind of skipped ahead and skipped back again.
Yeah, but it's just Shoto and Bakugo show up to help.
Hold on, I'm in a horror movie. I'll be right back.
Yeah, while he's going to investigate whatever that noise just was. This is where we got another great action sequence, some fantastic animation as Shoto immobilizes the steel ball guy, and Bakugo is just raining fire on the Archer's helicopter as she's still trying to like take him down, and he's just like evading her shots and like shooting down any arrows she sends his way. Now that I think about it, she hadn't run out of arrows, but the steel ball guy just gave her some of the smaller ones and was launching those with her bow. Sorry, Peanut Gallery's kind of freaking out because the Bingecast's staring at Sam, who is standing behind you. Bingecat is still watching Sam pretty closely. But at any rate,
What was it?
again, it's just our ghost Ash being a little bit mischievous, as Ash is wont to do. Never actually been harmful, and we like it that way. Just don't cause any damage, Ash, and we'll all be fine.
It was a metal sound, and I don't know where it came from.
At any rate, we can investigate later once we're done recording.
Yeah, because that's something very important to
Okay,
Oh,
but
boy.
this steel ball guy starts pleading for mercy from Shoto, just sort of like, I'll tell you everything, and Shoto's ready to basically hear him out, and then the Archer just kills him.
Did she kill him? Or
we
she
never saw him
attempted
again.
to?
She launched a bunch of arrows straight at him.
She
and it's just
attempted to kill him.
They called him a traitor for it. We never found out what happened to him. We didn't see him again at all.
Well, she attempted to kill him. I think they saved him.
But regardless, they weren't able to capitalize on it at all.
So maybe she did kill him.
Maybe she did kill him, or he fell to his death with the ridge collapsing around them.
I think so. Because when she ran out of arrows, she said for the cause or whatever.
Well, it wasn't just that. She hadn't just run out of arrows. Bakugo had landed on the side of the helicopter, on the front of the helicopter, and was getting ready to just blast them. And she just goes for the cause and just steps off the.
I think he was going to apprehend her. He wasn't going to kill him.
Well, regardless, he was about to unload and disable that helicopter. She just goes for the cause, steps into view, and just drops straight to her death.
I was like, what?
A helicopter crashes, and at any rate, the Three Musketeers and Rhodey all gather a bit, and Deku's like thanking them, and Shoto's looking at the case and just like, so this is what this was all about, and Deku then notices that there was a hidden compartment in the briefcase, which contained like an SD card and some sort of like.
Oh yeah, remember the flashback had what's his name?
Rhodey.
Playing around with this puzzle box.
Yes, that's right. The puzzle box is what contained the SD card and this like microchip thing. Chris has just walked in.
Talking about the movie?
Yes.
Yes.
You don't watch My Hero anyway, so.
It's been a while since I've actually watched it. I don't think I've gotten past season 1. I don't think I have.
At any rate, and Road is here as well. Our Road, not Rhodey, the character in the movie. But when they realize that they have this weird microchip thing and this SD card, they're like, we got to find out what's on this card. So when they get into a hotel in the next country over, they go into like the business center in the hotel and just plug the SD card in. There's like tons of files and folders in there. They're like, how are we ever going to find out what's important about this?
Get out of the way.
And Bakugo's just sort of like, get out of the way. Let's just look at the most recent files. And they find a like video file or audio file, I think, from a engineer at Humorize, basically explaining that the microchip thing is a key that can be used to disable the bombs that the Humorize is getting ready to set off. And also, the guy says, this was given to me by
When I heard
And,
that,
like a guy's name, I think was like Eddie Soul, which is Rhodey's father. It's just like Rhodey, he gave his life so that I could get my hands on this, and no, it was a video file, and the guy on the video was Eye Patch Man. So yeah, we got that gives vindication that like Eddie Soul, Rhodey's father, had been basically kidnapped by Humorize and forced to do this for them. And right about this time, Humorize then sends a broadcast message across the world, basically explaining that they're about to set off these bombs that is going to purge the sickness of Quirks.
it said 25 bombs.
The 25 bombs in 25 countries. And they even then gave, basically said...
And those MFers were liars.
Because there were more bombs than just those 25.
Yes.
But that, as it turns out, was part of their plan. As we'll explain in a bit. But they basically said, you have 2 hours. Those of you who don't want to die, you have 2 hours to evacuate those cities.
Yeah, and mass panic, that's really easy
Exactly. And because of the mass panic, the heroes in those cities mobilized
on rescue duty to help clear cars out of the way, get the injured to safety, make evac routes and everything. And that's when Bakugo sort of figures out what the scheme was. See, what he did was look at the most recently open files.
Exactly.
Or saved files.
And it wasn't just that. It's like he took some of the files that were some of those recent files
and overlaid the map they told where all the bombs were, and overlaid the map of where locations locations are.
And he realized this right here is a spot that has, I think it said it had a bomb, but it wasn't one of the 25 cities listed.
Huh.
And he's like, that must be where the headquarters is. But they also realized that the scheme was the bombs were going to be set off because the pros were there. And the pros were the targets of these bombs.
And that's why they set off the first bomb to begin with, to show there's a threat.
Yeah, to basically prove...
To mobilize them.
To mobilize them. And once the pro heroes would then be taken out, which would cripple the association's ability to respond to a crisis.
And to cripple the worldview of heroes in general.
Exactly. Allowing Humorize to then step in and take over. And Shoto was ready to send a warning to the association, and no, I think it was Deku was ready to send the warning, and Shoto's like, no, they're gonna we can't send the message and pull the heroes out because people still need help.
People still need help, and they need to try to. If we fail this, they need to have some way of trying to get these bombs.
Get the bombs out of there. We just have to trust in them to find them and get them out of the way. While they try to figure out how they're going to get to this Humorize headquarters, which is 400 kilometers away, and that's when Rhodey's like, I've got an idea, because he had basically explained that his dream when he was growing up was that he wanted to be a pilot, but when everything went sideways for him and his siblings, he obviously couldn't go to pilot school when he had debt over his head and everything,
and nobody wanted to hire him for any kind of
because of his father. So he never learned to do that. But this right here is is the perfect chance for him to fly a plane. So they just basically get a simple biplane kind of thing, one that still had a cargo hold in the back for the Three Musketeers to change into their hero gear. They get to the island.
They what did they do? He definitely stole that damn plane.
Oh, absolutely. But they basically jump out of the plane to launch the attack on the headquarters, telling Rhodey, this is a job. We understand you want help, but this is a job for heroes. And
just fly the plane out of here.
Yeah, go on and get back to your family, kind of thing. But he lands the plane and basically, sneaks in there to try to help out while Bakugo holds court at the entrance to the facility, just taking out the goons on sight. And we're getting, this is all interspersed with shots of the other teams across the world dealing with various humorized goons that had turned up, all of whom had quirks, also. But the focus was still primarily on the Three Musketeers. And Shoto and Deku keep heading in until finally Shoto's like, I'll hold them off here. You go on ahead. So they've all split up, and Bakugo ends up having to fight these twins that could like turn their arms into like sword whips.
Was it? I told you it reminded me of Renji's sword.
Yeah, very much like Renji's sword from Bleach. I don't think you actually mentioned that, but yeah, that is exactly how I would describe it. Or like Ivy Valentine from Soul Calibur, if you're not familiar.
I was talking to a peanut gallery in the car about it.
Yeah. And they're basically just your usual like cackling nut jobs. They're just like completely insane.
Oh God! I thought there was one of them. They just like
And then another one steps out from behind the first.
I love when Bakugo says, "I want to get insane too," and his blood eye. That was so.
Oh, the blood eye! By the end of that fight,
they tore him apart.
Oh yeah. Well, he managed to briefly get the drop on them while fighting with them by planting a bunch of grenades around this pillar. And then while they're both sort of like hanging on the side of it, just AP shot and sets off, just wrecks the pillar, sets off all the grenades, and brings the pillar down on top of them. And then they just both shoot up with trigger and get even more insane. They start sprouting blade swords from like
four of them out of their back. So they each had 6 like whip chain blades.
And as we saw later, they could even do that with their tongues.
They really?
Yeah, when he like embedded them in the pillar towards the end, before he did his like howitzer explosion thing, which was like his finishing move. Yeah, it was. They gave him quite a run for his money, but then Shoto had a tough time of it with the big.
Did you notice he did his version of All Might's stance too? He stood there with the legs and his legs spread, his arm up in the air like All Might would have.
Yeah,
but he had his thumb out.
Well, it was more like he had the thumb down, just like you're going down kind of thing.
But
it was very much like the arm raised thing that All Might had done, and that Endeavor did.
He's like, no, I didn't do it like it. Mine was with the left arm. Yeah. Nothing alike. I'm like, uh-huh.
But Shoto had his hands full with the big dude that he was fighting.
I don't even know what the hell that thing was.
It was a person with this
I thought it was
real
a
weird
Nomu.
quirk, but that guy had shot up with trigger. Oh. I think
he acted like a frickin' Nomu.
Yeah, he didn't bother talking at all. He was just attack, 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 attack. And Shoto could just barely keep up with him. He tried shooting flames at him. The guy just tanked them. He tried putting ice in front of him. He just smashed through them. And Shoto finally managed to take him down by combining his quirks, like freezing the guy into like a big ice ball. And
did you like how like what they've all improved on?
Yeah,
his control of ice with the combination of his control fire, because he was shooting it through his fingertips at points.
I did see that. We also saw exactly what that like
the
chest
vest
the vest that he wears is for. It helps regulate his body temperature. Because there was one bit after he used a bunch of like flame powers against some of the goons
and the ice
that we just saw like steam shoot out of the back of the vest. So I was like,
so he finally had some gear.
Well, we knew that he had some support gear, but we just never saw him use it.
And the worst part was when he beat that big Oni guy, and he's falling down to the ground. Only thing I could think of was 5 weenies. Because he had the 2 things like dangling off his belt from that episode, where the kids called him Mr. 5 Weenies. That's all. Like, I started cracking up in the theater. I'm like, he damn near died, and I'm just going 5 Weenies.
But when Deku makes it all the way down to the bottom of the facility by where the control room is. And Road over here is just cackling because of 5 weenies.
She's like, what did I wake up into? What kind of porn is this?
Road is just over there. He was reading the book I gave him earlier. I got him a copy of the new Star Wars Ronin novel. You're welcome again, by the way. He read it. He read a little bit, and then he just sort of leaned back and was starting to snooze. So if you hear some snoring in the background, that's why.
Did I hear 5 weenies?
And he has no context whatsoever. It's just like cackling.
Huh? 5 weenie? What? Mr. 5 weenies?
It was weenie night.
But
There wants hot dogs.
that's like an inside joke for us. But Deku, when he makes it down to the control room, is confronted by Flecked Turn, the leader of Humorize.
What a great name for him, too.
Well, yeah, because it's very much like what his powers do.
Reflect and turn it against you.
Exactly. Because that is his quirk. He can reflect basically anything that tries to touch him. But the problem is, he has no control over it, and it's always active. And Deku finds out how that his quirk can basically reflect his smashes back on him.
Oh, man. Every time he hit that thing, I'm like, Deku, stop it. You know how this works after the first one. Stop.
Yes.
Okay, him trying the air shot afterwards, okay, I get that.
But then that got reflected back as well.
So then, stop it.
Well, except, remember the USJ attack?
Yep.
And All Might fighting the Nomu there.
Of shock absorption.
Uh-huh. And how did All Might defeat it?
Going plus ultra.
And how did Deku finally manage to beat Flecked?
By just giving it a good old try. No.
Well, I mean, that's what happened first, and then he's been... And if it's not bad enough that he's trying to fight Flecked and it's not working, he then tries to basically, like, I'll just go around him. Except there are lasers set
Laser
up around the
defense
room defending the door. And
He's like,
even
okay.
if he tries to stay away from those, Fleck just sends, like...
I love how he's like, okay, I'll just outrun him. Screw it. And then Fleck just throws out all the mirrors, and he's like, all right, I got you. Just redirects him and just skewers Deku.
Oh, yeah, Deku got cut up by those lasers.
I mean, that's why I said it feels like he has some kind of healing, because there's no way he should have been able to move after the second time he took 3 to 4 shots straight through his body.
I agree. There's only so much heroic willpower can accommodate for. But after he's been cut up by this thing, and he's just lying on the ground, barely able to stand, and just like bleeding.
Oh yeah, he was just pouring blood.
Rhodey walks in, takes the microchip thing from him, walks over to, and basically explains that he made a deal with Humorize. That
because they surrounded the plane he was in.
Yep,
when
and
he crashed it.
They basically said, "We'll deactivate the bomb in Otheon, so that your siblings will be spared if you give us give Fleck the microchip." So he goes over to Fleck's, like he's gonna surrender it, and then we see Pino pop his head out of Rhodey's hood, and it's just sort of like shaking his head to Deku, and then we flash back because Rhodey had told him what his quirk was, but we didn't hear it at the time.
I like how they held that.
Yes.
As soon
as they didn't reveal it, I'm like, this is going to be significant somehow. It was. Not in the way that I thought, but... I
was like, oh man, he must have some like super good healing quirk or some kind of medical quirk.
It wouldn't have been something like that because before he told Deku, he's like, promise you won't laugh. And that says to me that it's a quirk that sounds like it would be useless.
So he's the matter eater lad of this universe.
Not even that. Because his quirk is Pino. Pino is like the reflection of his inner self. It shows what his true intentions are.
He can never lie because the bird's always showing what he feels.
Exactly, yeah. Because the bird always shows what his true feelings or intentions are. Which is, And when Deku sees Pino like shaking his head and then like giving like an indicate, like signaling to him, that he realizes, okay, this is part of the plan, and he Rhodey like flips the microchip over Fleck's head like a coin, like ducks between his legs, catches the chip, and then starts doing his like parkour moves as he's avoiding the lasers that Deku was having trouble avoiding. And Deku just uses his air shot to start taking the lasers out.
And he missed one.
He missed one, which managed to tag
Right.
Rhodey.
Was it his chest or his abdomen?
It was like his abdomen.
Oh my god. Yeah, he should have been dead too.
He should have been dead too. But
we see him make it down this long staircase till he
leaning against the wall with a trail of blood.
And he just kind of like falls at the bottom pretty much. And you see Pino just literally disappear. And you're like, nope, he's dead.
Yeah.
Pino's gone. There is no inner self if he's not alive.
Yeah, that's what I figured as well. But at the same time, I'm like, no, Pino's...
They gave us like... And this is at like the 4-minute mark.
Yeah. There's like 4 minutes left before the bombs.
And they're jumping back and forth between the different
hero groups. A lot of them have found the bombs, but they're still fighting
heavily guarded by essentially sympathizers of the
Yeah.
organization
and
with quirks.
And even when they do find them, they suddenly find, oh, there's more than one bomb.
It's like, I see one. Oh, there's another one. Oh, there's a third one.
Yeah.
In each area, practically.
But they're still scrambling to try to contain these things and move them out of the way. We did see that Cementos had like encased one of the bombs in cement, which is a good way to deal with a chemical bomb like that. Chris just like popped at some joint or something.
Something like that.
And like
Endeavor's trying to like
launch it into space. Same with Ochako and her group. And Deku, he just keeps going at Fleck, even though he has seen repeatedly that it's just not working.
But he's also noticing that it's not as strong of a deflect anymore.
And then he realizes there must be a limit to how much it can deflect. Basically, just like All Might with the USJ Nomu. It's just sort of like it's not shock nullification, it's shock absorption, which means there's an upper limit to how much you can take. And Deku basically just, he's like, we always go beyond plus ultra.
And that's when it looked like he went full 100.
Well, you're getting a bit ahead, because as he keeps fighting him, keeps hitting him, he starts driving Fleck back. And even Fleck is just like, what? Because every time he's tried to hit him, Fleck hasn't moved.
Yep.
And now he's getting driven back by Deku's attacks, so he's starting to throw punches of his own, and Deku just keeps fighting back, and then Deku like full cowling.
100. Holy crap! When his eyes went white.
Yeah, it was very much like
when he had Eri on his back.
When he had Eri on his back.
So that was 100% because that's when he went 100.
Mm-hmm. And he's just like.
He throws Saitama's a series of serious punches.
serious strikes, serious.
It's like a
serious series of punches. I also had like Gum Gatling vibes from like One Piece, because he was like long distance, just
because he's using the
air shot, and you could see like imprints of fists hitting hitting Fleck in the chest, and then Deku.
That was such a
and then Deku goes full bore on him because he hits him with the United States of Smash. Actually, I think he said United States of World Smash or something. He just.
Yeah, I couldn't hear what he said after United States of.
Yeah, it definitely sounded like there was another syllable in there before he said Smash. I think it was World, but regardless, I was like, "Holy shit!" He did the United States of Smash, and like you said earlier, he beat the blue off of him.
He was no longer blue.
It like shattered the mirrors and everything.
Everything.
And Deku then goes running down to try to stop the bomb because there's only like seconds left. And when he gets there, he sees that Pino had managed to remanifest and had managed to insert the chip. So the bomb's got deactivated.
And he goes, "Did it do it?"
Yeah. And they're both just sort of like, "Yeah, you did it." And they're both just sort of laughing, tears in their eyes with relief.
Like, oh, and you noticed Deku's arms were
Oh yeah, he fucked up. He
Straight
fucked up his bruise.
destroyed
He fucked up
again.
his arms again. And after that, it's like the heroes had managed to save the day. All the humorized sympathizers got arrested. We saw they arrested Flecht and the police commissioner and the twins. I don't think they showed the Oni guy.
Fuck the twins, man.
And then we saw all of the Three Musketeers and Rhodey in the hospital getting visited by Recovery Girl.
Kissing up on
Complete with
Bakugo.
Bakugo just like, as he's getting the kiss from Recovery Girl.
A social distance kiss, because he was like 6 feet away from him.
But, the day was saved, and...
Yes, I need to see the next episode of the show.
Oh,
we need to get going.
definitely.
They haven't put up a new one yet, so...
Well, they're probably not gonna until next weekend.
So what we need to do is get on that,
Get back to
Saitama.
Yeah.
So we can get to Demon Slayer.
Yeah, but and Rhodes giving a thumbs up for Demon Slayer. I keep hearing great things about it, so
Yes. Only yes.
he probably will not be joining us for that on a regular basis. Maybe if he's around when you and I decide to do a binge for it, he can join
it
in.
this way. I've watched it about 10 times straight.
But that's a future binge thing. Back to wrapping up the movie. Rhodey meets up with them at the airport as they're getting ready to go back to Japan, and he's trying to play it off like he doesn't care.
It's like, whatever, you guys do you.
But then you see Pino is just like,
he's just bawling.
yeah, he's just crying.
Deku
Deku sees it and is just sort of like, yeah, you care.
And he just gives him a big old hug.
And Rhodey hugs him back, and we saw Rhodey go back to Stanley's bar and just like basically it's like, you got any work for me? Something respectable. And he's just sort of like,
I did have someone quit, so
guy no showed or something like that. And it's just like, and Rhodey's just sort of like smiles, like a genuine smile, not the sort of like I don't give a shit smile that he usually gives.
And then you have like still images of him like washing dishes.
A montage during the credits of him like
Poor guy.
mopping the floor,
serving tables, taking orders, washing the
dishwashing. I was like, oh my god, it's Chris. Tell me that you weren't thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
We also saw the Three Musketeers meeting up with the rest of their class back at their
They're
dorm.
all so happy that they're alive.
Yeah, and Ida is just and it's still
I love how Ida-
image too. You can see like the after image of him doing his like arm chop thing, just like you made us all so worried.
Him and his knife hands.
Yeah, and Aoyama was like had like some cheese ready in the background that he was ready to feed to Deku.
I've got some great fromage.
Yeah, and then we also had the montage with Rhodey working at the bar and applying for pilot school and studying hard for pilot school.
Oh, that's cool.
Making spaghetti with his siblings and stuff. It was just
Nice
nice.
All around.
Yeah, nice and wholesome. Some big smiles for everybody.
One thing I get disappointed with movies like this, that they take place in universe, but they have characters that you never see again.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully we do see
Daniel
him.
Shield. Didn't see him after the first movie.
Didn't he die?
He was arrested, I think. But no mention was made of him or any of the stuff that they were making on Island after that.
They did have some of the tech, though.
There was similar tech, like the stuff the Doctor was using, but I got the impression that was stuff the Doctor had probably invented.
Huh.
Along with All for One, because a lot of it was to do with...
They have some good ways of tying it in without having it be essential for watching the series.
Yeah.
Which is really, really good. Like, I know some shows like Dragon Ball Z and that, they do the movies are just out here in this own little universe, and they don't tie them in until recently, where Super was taking the movies and instead of doing it, just making an arc.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's one way to do it.
There was one DBZ movie, I swear, the villains from that showed up again in a later arc.
They might have shown up in a later arc, but
Garlic Jr., I think, was.
But
like
they
the
never
president.
was any mention of them after that.
Yeah.
In the series, all same with Cooler.
Yeah, that's true.
Cooler, and then his revenge, and then he's him again.
But yeah, and with My Hero at least, it is considered canon. But yeah, they still don't
They're
really
not
make
necessary.
but not necessary. Yeah.
I don't think there's ever, like, even with 9, it's believable, it's true, it happened, but it's not like the Doctor like goes out of his way to say, oh yeah, we've had others before that were Actually, I think you might have mentioned that there's been others before that were actually really successful at taking multiple quirks.
Right.
But without mentioning
But without mentioning 9 specifically. So it's like, if you've seen the movie, you're just sort of like, eh?
Well, also, I would say Demon Slayer's movie, because it is canon to bridge the 2 seasons, but what I'm hearing about season 2 is they're redoing the train as an arc
Okay.
for the season 2, which confuses the shit out of me, because originally it was supposed to be to bridge the gap between the seasons.
That's why some people are upset because they don't want that anymore.
Well, yeah, they want to see something new. They had the movie, they had their holdover, they want something new.
Yeah.
Can't blame them.
Instead of retreading the same ground kind of thing.
It's like if they did that with My Hero and they were like, well, this movie is now this arc for like the first half of season 6 or whatever the hell we're going on to.
I don't know. Because I don't really follow. I know that Super is basically incorporating the movies into the show. Somewhat expanded for a somewhat longer arc. But and then adding sort of more into it. But with My Hero, at least, the stuff is canon. Still, at the same time, stands alone.
Canon yet contained.
Mm-hmm. And when you do that sort of thing with expanded universe stuff, where it is considered canon, but it's not considered essential to
because the second movie was kind of a weird
to accept
place.
the main source of the canon.
The second movie was kind of in a weird place when it came out. He didn't have those gauntlets yet going into that movie.
Huh.
Because when we saw it in theaters, we're like, wait, what's up with these gauntlets he's got? Then he's using the air shots, and I'm like, wait, what?
Well, you could say the same thing about their tactical gear in the first scene in this movie.
So they might actually come up with the tactical gear later on in the season, hopefully. Maybe use it against the...
but yeah, if, stuff
the
like
Liberation Front. What are they called now?
Paranormal Liberation Front or something like that.
Yes.
It was Paris something.
I know it's paranormal.
Paranormal, yeah. That's because they were just sort of like, it's not about metahumans anymore. It's
I
about.
don't know why they called it paranormal, though. I think Twice just threw it out there, Toga.
Yeah,
It's
probably.
like, yeah, whatever. Shigaraki don't care. He got himself.
Yeah, Tomohiro Shigaraki doesn't care. He's got
That's
himself.
a badass cape.
He's got himself a badass cape. He's now the one in charge.
He's got himself a throne.
And he's basically realized my quirk is way more powerful than I thought.
My hair is now white.
One knows when you get the white hair, you've reached boss status.
Right, Sephiroth?
So, feelings on the movie?
I liked it. It was very good.
I cried a lot.
Yeah, well, that's you. You are a soft touch that way.
I got misty-eyed in some parts.
I bet you did.
Yeah, you don't connect with characters as much as I do.
No, I'm a cold bastard.
This show has legitimately made me cry at points.
I can see why. There are times you're just sort of like,
so good. I invest so much in these characters, so much in this world that I become super attached to the characters. And by God, I'll fight you if you start making up some stupid ass shit.
okay, you should probably never watch Ruby because there are so many crack ships
You're
with
not allowed
Ruby.
to talk to the twins. Oh God, you just don't want to talk to them. I don't want to talk to them either sometimes, but they're family.
Yeah.
Ships. Some ships are meant to sail. Some are meant to just die at the bottom of the ocean.
Some should just crash into an iceberg and kill thousands of
some were
people.
never meant to be built and put out at sea.
They should be all paper. Literally, think of your ship as literally a paper boat in a hurricane. Because that's how far they are, unless you're part of
Problem
Ruby.
with the paper boat is that somebody's going to find that paper boat and it's just like, We all float down here, Georgie. And then that ship is not going to die.
The only time
It's
I've
going
heard
to keep
of a
popping up
ship
to
actually come to fruition was in Ruby.
Bumblebee.
What?
Was it the Bumblebee ship?
No, it's Blake and
Yang.
yeah.
That's Bumblebee.
Oh, that's Bumblebee. Oh.
The thing with the Ruby fandom is they
I
have
thought
a
that
nick.
was pushed.
It depends on who you ask. There are some people that claim it was pushed in there too heavily, and this is mostly because those people don't want to see a lesbian relationship.
Or that 3 seasons they showed no companionship, let alone much lines.
I don't pay attention to the ship wars going on in the Ruby fandom because
I
don't give a shit about your ships.
When they affect the actual show is when I care.
And it does to some extent. We're not here to talk about Ruby. Let's get back to My Hero. But yeah, the movie was very good.
Now keep it up. Deku and Bakugo are not getting together.
Oh,
never gonna happen.
They are gonna hate fuck so hard.
They have Kirishima and Bakugo, which
I could see it.
I could kind of see it.
But we all know the real ship is Kirishima and Tetsu.
No, I like
two hard bodies just grinding together. I'm saying this stuff so I can see Road over there just cackling.
I like some of the ships actually make sense because they are patterned quirks. Mm-hmm. You got Kirishima and damn it, what's
Pinky?
Acid Girl?
Pinky.
Mina.
Yeah.
Because acid to melt that hard exterior
to get to the gooey center. Again, just seeing Road's
like
reaction
all
over
the
there.
different ships, and I love the one ship where it shows all the different ships, and then Mineta with no one.
Yeah, of course, because that pervy little bastard is never going to get anything. No, I take it back. The only time he's gonna have an actual ship is if there is some ugly ass skank that takes an interest in him that he doesn't want. That's going to become the legit
There is
ship.
actually a Mineta ship.
Oh God, who?
Deku.
Why? Just why?
Road's face. Wow.
There are times I do wish we had a camera set up so we could record Road's reaction.
No, people legit.
out there that said that it's legit that that Mineta's bi.
Yeah.
Yeah, even Vex is just sort of
He
like,
was like,
that noise is just like, no.
He
no,
literally went.
does not compute, no.
He heard nothing else but.
I'm
Like,
scared,
no.
Dave. Will I dream?
Oh yeah, a lot.
Daisy.
Well, nightmares.
Yeah.
But you've got to.
OCP is Deku.
Deku
Oh,
of
of
Chaco,
course.
of course. Because that, by creators, what he said is canon.
That's the one that is going to get.
But you've got Earjack and the Lightning Boy. Why can't I think of his name?
Kaminari.
Yes.
And see, those are the two that I always get confused. Kirishima and Kaminari. But yeah,
But I
I've got
like
it.
their ship because it's like charger, electrical. I like the pairings. I like when you can see that their kids are going to have some really dope ass quirks together.
Yeah. I don't know who the hell Bakugo ends up with. Shoto, probably.
The Bakugo ships are Kirishima, Bakugo,
Because Bakugo is so tsundere for
Deku.
for Shoto.
Oh, Chaco. They have literally no chemistry.
Yeah.
Bakugo and
No,
that's a
that's
big one, and I was like,
no.
okay.
They have him with Jiro also, and I'm like, no.
Momo, maybe. Yaoyorozu.
Momo is Todoroki is the big fan.
That one.
And I'm like, they're the two. That's a good pairing too.
If not with Todoroki, then with Ida.
I could see that.
Yaoyorozu and Ida together. I could totally see that work.
I think if anything, Mineta would get with the Invisible Girl because she would.
She could always pretend that she's not there by just taking her gloves off.
I'm not here.
So she doesn't have to be seen with him.
She's like, I can't dare be seen with you. Ha ha ha, I'm not seen at all.
And then Minet's just going to be like, that means you're naked.
No, he's done that before.
I know. But if she were to take the boots and the gloves off so that you can't see her at all, he's just going to be like, it means you're naked.
So what do you think for ships?
Don't ask me about ships because I don't give a fuck. I just don't care about ships. I don't. I mean, I in situations like this where we're just sort of talking about potential pairings, that's one thing, but I don't care about ships at all.
Yeah. I told someone, I showed them, they were telling me about what they ship, and they were shipping characters in Fairy Tail. I was like, I don't know anything about Fairy Tail, but do you watch My Hero Academia? She's like, no, I've been meaning to get into it. I said, do not go for this ship, and I showed her who they were, and she's like, oh yeah, I totally ship them. Starts watching the show, she's like, I 100% ship them, which is Kirishima Bakugo. She 100% ships that.
Yeah, because they're best friends.
She's like, with Bakugo Deku, she's like, ew, no. I'm like, alright, good. We're on the same page on something. Alright.
But yeah.
Nothing makes me harder than thinking about my bully for the past 20 years.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
You might just have some baggage to... well, we all have baggage, so anyway. But,
no. When it comes to bullies, if I had a chance, there's a reason why I don't go on social media, because if I knew where they were or where they were, I would not be here right now. I'd be in a cell.
Yep. But I think we're now just getting into semi-ramble territory. We should probably wrap this up.
You're starting to act like me.
Ramble territory.
Oh, you weren't here for like the Ramblecasts and stuff that we did, where we talked about.
Here's the time length on most of those.
Yeah. Well, no, we capped those at like an hour and a half generally.
Where'd Chris go?
He's upstairs making coffee for tomorrow morning.
Crisco.
But yeah, the Ramblecasts. We should get you in on a Ramblecast one of these days when you're over. But yeah, I think we've reached the end of this.
We started rambling about
Herocast.
shit.
So, My Hero Academia World Heroes Mission, another worthy My Hero movie. Looking forward to seeing where the rest of the season goes from here. If we have more of the season, I don't know for certain. But
I shouldn't have done this.
Oh God!
I looked up ships.
I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up right now before we get into it even deeper than we have to. So for Sam and the Peanut Gallery and Chris and Rode, I am Jay, and we will see you next time.
Plus Ultra. Oh, you missed it.
Thanks for listening to the Bored to Death Bingecast. Be sure to check out our library of past podcasts via CKCC Radio or via our YouTube channel, and give us a like and subscribe. We'll see you after our next binge.